please put your hands together for a great talent and a great guy, Mr. David Finch.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. I figured, I was sitting here thinking about what I wanted to draw, and I think I'd like to draw Wonder Woman because my next comic is Wonder Woman. It's coming out in November. I'm very excited. So
That sounds pretty cool. I think everyone would like that, right?
yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
So I draw everything basically the same way, and this is what I do every single day. So I don't really have an eraser the way that, so I'm going to go pretty light here, and hopefully this will show up on the screen. But the way that I always start is I just hold the pencil pretty loosely, and I just want to get the whole figure drawn in. No details, but just a general placement. So here we go. This is her head right here. I know the way that I learned, you're really supposed to start with the biggest body mass and the central body mass, and that's the torso, like the chest. But I start with the head just because it's more comfortable for me. And ultimately, when you draw, you know, you want to stick with the rules as much as you can, but deviate to what works. So here's a center line for her body, and I'm going to draw her pelvis right here.
Start with an easy question for you. What got you started and interested in drawing comics?
I loved drawing in high school. I used to draw all the time. But I drew skulls, and I drew, Eddie from Iron Maiden. Remember that guy?
Awesome.
And that was kind of my thing. I didn't really take it seriously, and I was pretty aimless. I was actually 20 years old. I had no prospects, and I knew that I could draw, but I really wasn't aware of comics at all. It was, my sister used to read comics, and I just finally picked up one of her books one day. It was Mark Silvestri, and he's actually my old teacher. And it just blew me away, and it made me realize that I could create stories on the page. And I always saw art as me sitting in a class, like this is high school, and drawing a cube and a sphere or whatever it is, whatever still life, and that was, and I think that's great, and it's a real skill, and it's hard, and it can be beautiful, but it just was never for me. I just really liked being able to create something out of my head, and I didn't realize that was a potential career. And when I found that out, I mean, really nowadays, I feel like there are more jobs in that vein than there ever were. With video games and movie design, there's more of a need for visual art than there ever was. And, comics, I mean, we're a huge medium compared to where we were, not that long ago. I feel like we're really growing right now, which is exciting, I think. All right.
So at this point, how many times have you drawn Wonder Woman a day?
I've drawn one issue so far. Not as many times as I'd like to.
Sure. That'll change.
That'll change, for sure. I'm already kind of having trouble with this one. This is the biggest part of my job. Some artists, I feel like they can just sit down and everything works and it's great. And it never works for me. I'm always changing, fixing things to make it work. And that's really why I work so loosely when I start, because it gives me the ability to very quickly and very easily just go in and adjust the pose and come up with something that works a little better. If anybody has any questions, by the way, feel free to just shout them out. It's actually a big help for me because, and I mean, it's been great. But yeah, if you have any specific questions at all, I'd love to answer.
What's your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, he's been writing the book now for quite a while, and he's got a great mythology really built up, and he's one of my favorites. He's a great writer, and he's been very, very supportive. She's actually done a decent amount of writing now for Zenoscope Entertainment, and this is her first Marvel job. It's actually our first job, really, where we've had a chance to work together, so I'm very excited. And she's terrific. I feel like she really has a great feel for the character, and I love that, nowadays, we there are so many more women reading comics, and so many more women interested in comic characters than ever before with movies and everything. So, it's a great time to be doing Wonder Woman. It's a great time for, Meredith to be writing her.
Question.
So from here, I've got my guy. What I would normally do is I use a kneaded eraser, and I can go in there and lighten everything off, and it works really well. But since I don't have that, I'm just using this eraser and doing my best to lighten it. And what I want is just enough, and you can kind of see I've got a mess, but it's going to be light enough, and when I finish, it won't really show up too much. And now I'm going to go in and basically draw, I guess, what I would call my cartoon on top of that. That's just all of the major lines that make up the character, and then from there I'll put in my shadow and detail and that kind of thing. But it's kind of a, it's very easy to look at finished comic art or any kind of art really and say, this is impossible. How does somebody do all that and get all that detail in? But it really is. It's like building a house. You start with a foundation and then you put in, the framing and everything. And once you get to all the little details, you've got all the major things there already to support it. So it's one thing at a time.
What have you found to be the most, is there a difficult part of drawing Wonder Woman that you've encountered in the one issue?
So far it's felt pretty natural, I think.
Okay.
I've been really enjoying, it just felt comfortable, and it's not always that way. I would say the most difficult thing is drawing Themyscira, drawing some of those.
Oh, really?
Those buildings can be pretty tough. Drawing that whole island can be a lot of work. And something that's been a challenge for me, I have a real tendency, both with men and women, to draw the same face. And I know a lot of comic artists struggle with that because we create it out of our own head, and eventually you develop a shorthand, and it becomes like handwriting, and it's hard to fight that. And since there are so many female characters, so many Amazons, I really want them to be distinctive. It's something I'm trying to work on.
Do you always start with the face first and work on to the body?
I always start with the face first. Ever since about the first year that I've been working, and I started doing that because I realized that I could spend all kinds of time on the body, and then if the face doesn't work, I would end up having to erase everything. Whereas if I do the face first, it's easy. I don't think I'm making sense. It works for me. That's what I can say.
Start at the top and go down.
Well, yeah, kind of somewhat, a little bit, like a photocopier. And, I'm saying I'm drawing more of a simple cartoon outline, but with the face, I always tend to kind of, and I can see already, I'm sure you guys know, she's looking a little bit young. I'm going to go with it. This is a very young looking Wonder Woman. A little younger than I'd like her to look in the book.
This gentleman has another question as well. Why don't you come over here so we can share your question with the rest of the class?
One of the things that I really liked about Cliff Chiang drawing Wonder Woman is he kind of gave her a really kind of muscular, tall, like Terry Dodson did that years ago. Are you going for more of a larger size Wonder Woman, or should you be a little bit smaller female?
I would say really I'm not going for a very large body type. She's relatively young at 23. I don't want her to look too young. But yeah, I would say she is an athletic, average-sized woman, 5'6" or something in my head. And, every artist that goes on to any project, you always have a bit of interpretation. That's really kind of where I am. And I'd love Cliff Chiang's version. You know what? She looks too young. We're gonna fix it. There we go.
All right, we're aging Wonder Woman.
Sometimes I feel like the number one key to drawing better art is being willing to erase it when it doesn't look right. Unless you're on deadline.
So, did you completely self-taught, or did you have some schooling?
No schooling, but I'm actually really, feel like it's unfair for me to say that I'm self-taught because I started out at Top Cat Productions and I learned under Mark Silvestri, and there were several other great artists there, all starting out. Joe Benitez was there, Mike Turner, Billy Tan, who's at DC right now. He's doing Green Lantern right now, and just a really great group of artists. And we all kind of fed off of each other and learned from each other's mistakes. And we were pretty merciless. You know, I find it's very easy when you're working on your own with no real criticism around, and no, you know, your mom's going on whatever you do. So sometimes it's nice to have somebody that really doesn't care to just tell you how it is. And having a studio full of guys that are all, you know, pretty competitive, you really get kind of the straight idea of what you're doing. And that was very helpful. I think we all learned much faster than we would have just on our own. And this is the worst part for a tutorial. I love drawing women, but I tend, when I'm drawing men, to be able to actually draw a layout that turns out to be my actual drawing, but you can see I'm deviating from it pretty heavily. Her chest's going to be way down here. It really came off quite a bit. So, ignore everything that I said earlier on.
What are some of the different challenges between the keyboard and the pencil for you, since you've done both?
Well, the biggest advantage to a keyboard is just being able to hit Alt-Delete, you know, or Alt-Z, I guess. And I worked that way for a year, and every once in a while I'm drawing with a pencil and I kind of want to hit Delete, and it just doesn't work. And you know, the other great thing is that you can draw. For instance, she looks too young to me, and really the big fix for me was just to make her nose a little bit longer and change the proportion of her face. And on the computer, that would be a matter of just selecting around it, moving it, and it's done. Whereas with pencil, you really have to redraw it. But I stopped using the computer actually because my artwork is really not complete without a great inker. Right now, I'm working with Rich Friend. He does such a beautiful job. I can't recreate it myself. And trying to spend my day making my lines as perfect and clean as what he was doing is just not possible. So it's better for me to work in pencil and work with the best. I will never go back.
It's come along awesome. So what do you find most rewarding about what you do, and most difficult about what you do?
I draw pictures for a living, you know, so it's all rewarding. I mean, I'm grateful every day that I can wake up and do this for a job. I love it. I love being able to draw. It doesn't feel like a job, and I sincerely hope that I'll never have to retire. I always have it in my head that, you know, one day things will move on, and there just won't be a demand for what I'm doing at all, and you know, I'll have no choice but to stop. But I hope that's a long time from now. So, and you know, there are challenges. I mean, sometimes I'll get a page in the script and it's 10 panels, and every panel has 30 people battling 30 people, and they're on horseback, and it's crazy. But you know, even then, I just try to remind myself I'm drawing for a living. What? You know, I can live with it. I think maybe realistically, I've got 3 kids. They're 5, 10, and 13, and I work at home. And now it's summer vacation, so you can imagine how much I'm getting done.
So your work, so you have to be on a regular regimented work schedule around when the kids are actually asleep and.
Yeah, you know, well, I work during the day, and they're pretty good. I mean, every year that they get older, they're better about giving me time. And then when they go to bed, I work at night. It's really the only way to get everything finished. I just can't get it done during the day. So what I usually do at night is I just bring like a little lap board, and I watch TV with my wife, and she likes every schmaltzy show you can imagine. So I don't have the
That's
remote.
cool.
Yeah. Like, you know, I don't want to say show after I said it was faulty, but I watch every contest show on Earth.
Every contest show?
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars, and yeah, all of them. Anybody else have any questions at all? Just feel free to shout it out there.
Other than comic books, what has inspired you or influenced what you do with your art?
Video games to a certain extent. I think movies, certainly.
Anyone in particular? Are you a very
Well,
big cinephile of particular directors or just...
Ridley Scott with Aliens. Am I wrong?
Oh my God.
Ridley Aliens. 300. I love that movie. All the comic movies are coming out now. You know, it's like this weird little bit of a loop because they're really picking up from the comics, but we watch those movies and some of the stuff that they do, and it's incredible, and it really informs what we're doing in the books, and you know, it's kind of a bit of a loop. But, I love fantasy novels and read millions of them, so you know that's a big part of what I enjoy, and that's actually a big part of why I wanted to draw Wonder Woman. It's in a lot of ways I've spent the last 14 years or so drawing superheroes, and while Wonder Woman is a superhero, she's a little bit more of a fantasy kind of character, you know. So I like that side of her. And I really feel like Brian Azzarello with his run right now has really played that side of her up, and I really like that a lot. And that's actually a big part of what made me want to do. So what we're going to be doing is not what he was doing, but definitely it's a big influence on what we're doing.
So, how is it? Right now, you're working on one with your wife. How's that experience? What are the challenges? What are the? I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to get you in trouble. I can ask a different question of your wife.
We had kind of a long flight, so we went back to the room and slept, so I'm probably okay. But it really hasn't been much of a challenge. I mean, she's really kind of run my business and been the responsible one for so long that, and really that's kind of the writer's job, you know, they write a story, and then as the artist, it's my job to see that vision through as well as I can. So, you know, having her sit down and say, you know, I really want this to be like this, and I want this to be like this. I mean, this is our life anyway. Right. So, yeah, it's been not a transition at all. And I think she's listened to me complain so much about trying to interpret scripts, things that can be, you know, there's some things that writers can do that are impossible to draw on a page. It just can't be done, and trying to find ways around that can be very frustrating. And I think she's heard me complain about that enough that she's pretty good about avoiding those kind of pitfalls, which is nice.
What are we going to do for you?
Alright, I've basically got her kind of drawn in. I'm going to go in and start to do some of the details. Do we have time?
We've been given. I'm sorry?
How much time do I have?
Sure, I think we're okay. I mean, you're almost done anyway. I was going to say that they have been giving away the drawings when they're done, signed, and up to now it's been the artist's discretion how they like to do that. Either asking a question or seeing someone is wearing a Wonder Woman outfit, or what do you think?
I think that sounds like a great idea. I like that.
Do we have a Wonder Woman in the booth?
No?
What? No? There's not one person dressed as Wonder Woman in the booth right now? Anyone? Aging Wonder Woman? No? All right. So it's like a plan B will have to be done. Thanks.
Can you do the Wonder Woman thing? No, you can't. You practice.
What would you like to do, David, as a plan B?
Wow, you know, I really thought Wonder Woman would be like a shoe-in. How about any female DC Comics character?
Any female DC character. Oh, I see.
Oh.
Is that Jeff? Oh,
We have a
there you
winner.
go.
All right.
Jeff is the winner.
Ready to go?
That is amazing. What do you guys think?
Still working on it. I'll be quick, but really, it's not done.
Pretty soon Jeff will spring to life to claim her prize.
No, maybe you dress it up.
Sorry, guys, I can do this all day. I do this all day.
You do it all day.
You can spend hours.
You guys don't have anything to do today, do you?
Alrighty.
All right.
Alright, Jeff. Come to me now. Do you want to personalize? Doesn't matter? Okay.
Thank you.
Because he's really, really good. That's why we have him up here.
I can't let go.
I'm getting the high sign.
Okay, I'm almost like 30 seconds.
Okay.
I find actually this stage of my drawing always takes the longest. I spend most of my time on little tiny details, and I just cannot stop. We got a pool last year at my house, and I spend, whenever I go swimming, I can stand there with a full skim for an hour and I can't stop because there's always something on the surface. I think that's why I do the job I do. All right.
Alright. Signed. Awesome. That looks fantastic. That looks amazing. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, David Finch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.